this week, the fundamentalist fuckwittery is brought to you by Oklahoma University student Samantha Fulnecky. Now, why am I bringing her up? Because she had an assignment that was assigned by in a psych class. She's apparently a psych major. And the assignment was to respond to an article about gender and how gender expression can lead to bullying and that kind of thing. And Samantha Fulnecky, whose mother is super MAGA, a lawyer from Springfield, Missouri. Her mother represented multiple insurrectionists in the from January 6th and has spoken about free speech, because there are a lot about free speech, these Christians, and she turned in an essay that was about 650 words, and I read it all, so y'all don't have to respond to this to the scholarly article that was assigned by the instructors of the class, one of whom is transgender. Now, this all smells like a great big giant sewer rat to me, because what happened next was she got a 0 on the assignment. And the professor said this: "I'm not deducting points because you have certain beliefs. I am instead deducting points for your posting a reaction paper that does not answer the questions for this assignment, contradicts itself, heavily uses personal ideology over empirical evidence in a scientific class, and at times is offensive. While you're entitled to your own personal beliefs, there's an appropriate time or place to implement them in your reflections. I encourage all students to question or challenge the course material with other empirical findings or testable hypotheses, but you're using your own personal beliefs to argue against the findings of not only this article, but the findings of countless articles across psychology, biology, sociology, etc. is not best practice. You argue that abiding..." Anyway, so I read the essay in question, and Desimber and I are both writers, and it is not only poorly written, but it is contradictory. It does not cite anything. She just spouts her opinions, which are tied to gender essentialism, which is super ironic because she is a college student. And in the world of the gender essentialist, in the world of people like Charlie Kirk,
she should be at home barefoot and pregnant.
She should be at home barefoot and pregnant and not going to college. But it's Turning Point USA's Oklahoma chapter that posted the essay online and the professor's response. Now, I'm going to read just a little bit from this essay. It says, "The article discussed peers using teasing as a way to enforce gender norms. I don't necessarily see this as a problem." So she's right there saying, I think it's okay to bully people because of Jesus, right? And then later in the essay, she says, "Society is pushing the lie that there are multiple genders and everybody should be whatever they want to is demonic and severely harms American youth. I do not want kids to be teased or bullied in school." Well, in the first page of your 650-word essay, you said you were okay with kids being bullied in school. So which is it? And the thing that stinks is she immediately got the grade. And who did she call? Former Oklahoma State Superintendent and representative of fundamentalist fuckwittery here on the God Squad pod, Ryan Walters, who is no longer the state superintendent, but he is a loudmouth that goes on Fox News a lot. She called Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, who is racist as hell, and a Christo-fascist, Christian nationalist kind of guy, and the president of OU to complain. Now,
there's a whole lot of calling around for one essay. I guess she was entitled.
And then she went on Fox News and had this to say, and I'm going to play it for you.
offended by the truth of the gospel and the truth that I wrote about in my assignment. And it saddens me to see that that offends them and upsets them the way it did. Jesus is always worth standing up for. And I just encourage those people that are dealing with something similar to push back against that kind of behavior. I would rather have my integrity and give my true opinion and get a 0 on an assignment than have to lie about what I really believe.
Okay. I would rather have my integrity and get a 0. No, you wouldn't.
No, because you wouldn't.
Because as soon as you got the 0, you lost your damn mind. Now she's saying that she's really looking into becoming more vocal about religious freedom of speech. Now, folks, I don't know if our listeners have been to college. A lot of y'all probably have. I have. And that's not how science works. It's not how academia works. You are not there to spout your gender essentialist nonsense based on an Iron Age collection of text that is never meant to be a science book. As my professor of biblical interpretation, one of them, Dr. Julia O'Brien, whose expertise is the Hebrew Bible / Old Testament, she said, if you're reading Genesis literally, you're doing it wrong. And you're missing the point completely. And when I was at Millersville, and I was taking those history classes like the one I just mentioned with Dr. McLarnon, there was a young woman in the class. I was a mid-30s student by then. I was a non-traditional student. And she did not like my political opinions because guess what? Dillon was loud in those classes. Shocking, right? And one day she confronted me about it, and she was holding her laptop, and she had a Santorum campaign sticker on it. Rick Santorum, who used to be a senator from Pennsylvania. He's a very hard right Catholic Christo-fascist who said things like, we absolutely want to know what's going on in your bedroom, and we have that right, and all that kind of thing. And that women should not be in college. They should be at home barefoot and pregnant. And I just looked at her and pointed at her laptop and I said, he doesn't think you should be here. And it just went right over her head. And this young woman is now putting herself out there to be this religious free speech champion. And she went on there and talked about how she talked about the gospel. No, you didn't. You didn't talk about the gospel. You talked about your interpretation of Genesis.
Not only that, that wasn't your assignment.
It was not the assignment.
That was not the assignment. Talk about Jesus however much you want to talk about Jesus. Do the assignment.
But she didn't. And so what she did was write a 650-word essay that was poorly written, contradictory, and didn't use any empirical evidence.
So she wrote a formal rant, is what she did.
Yeah. And then why are you in science classes? Why are you a pre-med psych major if you're going to have this kind of response
to science?
To science. Does she know that Genesis says that the earth is a flat disk with a dome-shaped lid? Probably not, even though she tried to use some Hebrew words in her essay to justify her views on gender and gender stereotypes, and talking about how women want to do womanly things because that's how God made them. Well, I know plenty of women who don't want to do womanly things. Whatever womanly things are.
Kids. They don't want to be married nor have kids. That's
right.
Womanly things.
And if we're going to go by the Bible, you might want to take off them fake eyelashes you're wearing and all that makeup, because there's that part of the Bible that talks about women should dress modestly, and it's not about wearing revealing clothing. It's about dolling yourself up and shit and putting on, but they're very hypocritical and very selective in what they're doing. And this smells, like I said, like a sewer rat, because her mom is a podcast host and does things on the radio and stuff in Missouri.
They're blowing it up so they can get
This has Grifter with a capital G all over it. So for all of those reasons, Samantha Fulnecky is this week's representative of fundamentalist fuckwittery.